The doctor will see you now. Well, she won't. She will when you make an appointment. I'm with Dr. Joe, a very good friend of mine. Well, become a good friend of mine, and the studio here. It's great to see you again, Dr. Joe. Now, of course, you have an interesting story to me because you've been with the NHS for a while. You've transitioned into your own practice of holistic, being a doctor and doing it that way, which I find fascinating. So just tell me how long you've been in the NHS, what you're doing currently, and why you set this up.
Okay, so I've been in the NHS since I moved to the UK in 2002, so 22 years. And I've been a GP since about 18 years. And I loved the job, still like it, still doing a little bit of work. But I was in one particular practice for 15 years, partnership. And I found that I was always running out of time. I never had enough time. And I also got a little bit disappointed with having to treat the same problem in the same way and people coming back with the same thing and not being able to quite get underneath the problem and working out, why is this occurring? Why is this happening? And why does it keep happening?
Sure. And I think we was talking a little bit before we started recording. And of course, I've been to the doctors a few times in my life. And basically, when you go there, what tends to happen is they're just kind of masking the problem. I hate taking tablets. And thankfully, I don't take that many. But it's one of these things, I know it's not curing it. You know, it's not curing the root problem, right?
Yes.
It's just, in my opinion, it's just masking it.
Yes.
And it's only going to come back and get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So I guess by going down the holistic route, it's more looking at the root problem to cure that so it doesn't come back, right?
Yeah. So there's two main aspects to that. There's obviously what a lot of people are now more aware of is that your lifestyle influences the outcome of your health. And that's things like your diet, your sleep, your exercise, all of those things. But another layer underneath that is, why have you developed bad habits in the first place? And, you know, where do they come from? And why do you crave certain foods? Why do you not feel like doing exercise? Why is your body shape as it is? And that's the crux for me, is that most of us live in a way we think we're ought to or supposed to, rather than in the most natural way for our bodies to be healthy. And that's because we've grown up with all these rules and ways that we were taught by our parents and our teachers and everybody around us to behave a certain way.
So if someone comes to see you and they make an appointment, first of all, it's not a 10-minute slot that you would get at your local GP surgery. It's like an hour slot. And to make this clear, this is a paid-for service. This isn't something that's on the NHS. Of course, it's totally separate. So they pay their time for you for an hour, basically, and you consult with them in that hour.
Yes, that's right. So I'll make people complete a questionnaire beforehand, where I go through body, so all the symptoms, history, medication, also lifestyle things. Then mind, which I divide into thoughts, mindset, and emotions. But I also ask questions about your relationships, your childhood, what because that tells me how you're trying to be and how you're experiencing your life at the moment. And then I ask questions about the soul, which is more about, what job do you do? Do you like it? What are your passions? How do you might find deeper meaning in life? Or, you know, what are your creative things? Or, you know, what things really fire you up? And then I'll combine all those things together.
Now, who is this for? I would like to think it's for everybody, but not everybody is going to be open to this. I think they're going to. Some people find this very hard to swallow. You know, to think, right, we've been conditioned and thought that the NHS is the answer to everything, and we're certainly not saying that the NHS is, you know, not needed anymore or anything like that. It serves a purpose. It's there. But people would have had this thought that that's all they've ever known. Now they might be thinking, well, this seems a little bit hairy-fairy, a kind of little bit of a pie in the sky. I mean, what kind of reassurance or science or whatever you can give to people to reassure them that this is, I don't know, not necessarily, but a better way or an addition to what they already know?
So first of all, there's a lot of science now that's come out that gives evidence for the benefits of making those improvements in your lifestyle. You know, like sleeping better, eating more healthily, having healthy lifestyles. But there's also more and more science now that looks at the nervous system regulation. So whether you are in a state of calm most of the time or whether you're in a state of stress. And what I really believe in, that there is a lot of layers of stress that people are unaware of. Like if life is really busy and you're stressed, you're usually aware of that. And there are things you can do about that. But if you are just trying to be good, trying to go along and do things as good as you think you ought to or can, that's actually causing stress as well. And that stops your body from going into that restoration state where it heals itself. So who are the people who I can help, or I think are more, I think it's everybody, sure, really. However, you do need to want to see that you can help yourself.
Indeed, that's quite important.
Yeah.
For things to change, we have to change. The great Jim Rohn always said that.
Yeah. So what I kind of say is I help people to help themselves, because I think everybody has that possibility, but you need to want to see that there are things you can change. Like people come to me and say, I'm just an anxious person. Right. And then I say, okay, right. So should we look at why you may think that and why you have become anxious and what is it you're anxious about? And then eventually, actually, it turns out that they thought they were an anxious person, but their reaction to life was in an anxious way. So that's a different thing. So you need to want to see that you can make changes in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you do life, really.
And there must be like a timing thing with this as well in terms of seeing results. So let's just say you go to the doctor with a rash on your foot, whatever it might be. Yeah. They give you some cream, you go and put the cream on, and within a couple of days, all of a sudden the rash is gone.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, if they come and see you with this rash that they're coming out in, I'm understanding that with what you do, it's going to take a little bit longer, or whether it's a complementary mixture of both at the moment until...
I would say often it's both. So you might still want to treat the original problem, that you come with some medicine. If you have a high blood pressure, you want to have that treated because you don't want to have a stroke.
Sure.
But if you have chronic fatigue, or if you feel exhausted and you've run the blood tests and nothing's come up, then we can look at that. There are like more chronic problems that the doctors have said everything seems fine, and then you're like, but I'm not fine. And then that would be a person who might come to me. But also, yes, it will take longer because you're going to want to undo a lot of your habits and a lot of your beliefs that you've built up for you the whole of your life. But it doesn't mean it has to take a certain amount of time. So some people catch on really quickly and they make changes and actually things move quickly. Other people are a bit more ingrained in the way they do things, so it might take longer. Or maybe what I do is just a little step in the right direction. And then they might come back later. So I do a longer program, or I do just one of consultations. So.
And how often are people going to be looking to see you? Is this something, that great saying, an apple a day keeps a doctor away? We don't want to see a doctor ideally because we want to be fully healthy and we don't have to see a doctor.
Yeah.
But with you, I understand in my mind that this is more of a touch base with the doctor a little bit more often, to keep you super sharp, super tuned in?
Depends. So I've done quite a few people have run a little program with me where they came 5 or 10 times, and they feel that set them up so well that they haven't come back to me.
Sure.
And there are people that just do one-offs and then they go off and because I also give advice. I might say, actually, there is an issue there that could do with, I don't know, a massage or a therapy, some therapy, or maybe that you need to do some more classes or go to the sea and swim more, or whatever it might be. And they might go off and try those things out, and they might come back a month later or even 6 months later and say, this is as far as I've got, can we look at things again? So.
No, I don't want to single people out or hold you to pricing on this particular broadcast, but is this going to be just for the elite kind of earners? Is it going to be kind of mid, because there's going to be some people realistically that just won't be able to afford to see you.
Yeah.
But what sort of market is going to be your kind of target market? Is it a kind of...
that's hard to say because what do people want to spend their money on?
Well, you get what you pay for, and I obviously know your costings, and I think they're very reasonable for the knowledge you have, right? And what you can bring to solving someone's problems. And in fact, if I was to say anything, I would just encourage just to make contact with you anyway. Go to your your pages, your social media pages, and just find out more, because I think you'd probably be pleasantly surprised to have an hour with a doctor. I had a number in my mind when we first started talking. I was like, oh my goodness, this has been crazy. But actually, it was quite affordable. You know?
If you go see a consultant privately, it's going to be triple that. You know, so it just depends who you compare yourself with, because I think people probably used to paying for a chiropodist or a massage.
Do you know what? Yeah.
But this will be more, because I'm trying to make a living from doing this. And the thing is, if I want to build this and don't want to keep having to go back to doing the GP work to actually pay for, you know, what I'm used to, then I can't afford to price it really low either.
No, of course not.
And it's a value point as well, isn't it?
It is. In fact, you just mentioned the massage side of things, and I've had massages in my life in nice hotels that I've actually paid not much different than an hour consultation with you. You know,
and also there are things that you don't think of because there might be less for one session, but you go and do them regularly as well.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And giving up certain things, it all depends how much you want change, right?
I think so. Is how much do you want to be involved with helping yourself with making your baseline health better? Because we don't know what life throws at us, and sometimes we get things that started a long time before, and we haven't been able to avoid them, and sometimes we still need to go and see a doctor and get serious things treated. But if you can make sure that your baseline health in body, mind and soul, I would say, is at as good as level you can get it, then you've got a head start.
You were recently up here for an event that was going on next door. Now, I'm pretty sure I heard that you're organising some retreats.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
Can you tell me a little bit more about those, or are they top secret?
No, not top secret. So I have one retreat in 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
Which is, I think, the price of a decent hotel. It's 3 nights.
Yes.
And it is with a friend who does some yoga called Julia. She's wonderful. And it'll just be a time to really slow down a little bit, to check in with yourself. I'll be using my methods, so the things that I do in a consultation as well, so you'll get that. It's a tiny little group. It's a beautiful place. And it's time to kind of reset yourself, ready for the Christmas craziness and the busyness, and to start that journey of going and checking in with yourself and your body, and what does it need, what does it want, what is it telling me. So that's in 2 weeks' time. There's still some spots, so that I would say if you feel that this is something you want to explore, it's a perfect opportunity. It's only a weekend, it's not a whole week away. So that's the first one, and it's soon.
Sure.
And then there is another one which is much bigger, but that is a bigger budget as well, which I'm doing with 2 friends, one from Canada and one from the States, and it's in Costa Rica.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It's next year.
What a pleasure.
Yeah.
What a pleasure.
And that is amazing. That's a whole program. We start online, we go to Costa Rica, and we finish online. And it's really kind of deep. And that one's for women, we're calling, and it's really that phase in your life when you're in your midlife and you're bumping up against a lot of symptoms, a lot of things that you were coming down a certain track, and suddenly it doesn't fit. Your body doesn't fit. Your life doesn't quite fit anymore. You're feeling overwhelmed and a bit frazzled, or you've got brain fog, or whatever other symptoms you might have from menopause. And you're thinking, well, what do I do now? Sure. And that's and we will really help you to go, what do I need? What do I want? Who am I? And where does the rest of my life want to go?
You just mentioned the menopause word there, which means and prompts me in my mind. We have a wonderful client here called Dr. Marva Williams, who produces these amazing products.
Oh, yeah.
Specialised at the menopause. And her story is quite amazing. I must remember and remind me for me to introduce you to her.
Oh, yes.
In fact, I think we've got some of her products in the production room, so I'll make sure I pass a few to you as well. But I think you two could work really well together in terms of the solutions you can offer people.
Yeah.
So I must make that introduction.
And menopause is one of my passion areas.
Got you.
Because it worries me that seems to be 2 camps, and it's like either all natural, just get on with it and get through it, which seems a bit harsh. And then there is the other camp that says without hormone treatment, you're doomed and you're going to end up with dementia and other problems. And neither of that's correct.
Sure.
So I think it is a phase of change, and it is literally your hormones, the estrogen that you have used to go through life and do loads of things is starting to fall away. So you're like, oh God, I can't do it all anymore. So if you're really struggling, a little bit of hormone treatment can help. But actually the whole point is that you're not meant to do all that stuff. You're not meant to keep people pleasing and holding all those things up and caring and looking after everything and everybody, because you'll get squeezed out yourself. And the point is that you go a bit like, no, not this, not that. What do I want? And from that place of renewed vitality, which comes from within, you can then give back to the world. But it doesn't come from a place of overriding yourself. So I think that's a message in menopause which often doesn't get mentioned as much. It's a transformation. It changes you from somebody who's more like a mother to somebody who's wise and is just different.
Yeah, sure. And it's certainly more talked about now than what it used to be, right? And in fact, it's very refreshing to see it and hear it. And we did a training course here for another company, two ladies. Yeah. And they also did a version for the men to watch so they could understand it as well. Like, great. You know, and I think, well, what a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, for people to find out more, what's your go-to place? Is it a website? Is it social media? What's the best way for people to find out more?
Depending on their preference.
Sure.
So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, and I have a website.
Brilliant. And the website address is?
It's bodymindsoul.com.
Excellent. Superb.
And you can find Body, Mind, Soul Doctor on Instagram. It's actually my name. I've got 2 accounts on Facebook, but it's the one with my name is actually the one I'm putting most things on. And LinkedIn is Dr. Johanneke Kodde.
Absolutely superb. Now, is there anything else that you'd like to mention that I've not prompted you for during this catch up on your partnerships meets? Anything at all? Anything at all.
That I'm also passionate about speaking about. All of these things, and I'm passionate about doing workshops. You know, so if you feel that this is an interesting message for your team, for a group of people, for a conference you're running, you know, if there's any groups that are coming together and could benefit from hearing either the body, mind, soul message in terms of helping yourself or more menopause related things, then I'd be more than happy to come and speak and do workshops and things like that as well.
Well, Dr. Jo, it's always a pleasure to be in your company. I hope you've enjoyed our little catch-up. And just to finish, we are here on the set of your partnerships meets. Your kind of thoughts on the networking scene and particularly your partnership so far? What's your kind of thoughts on it?
I've just met some lovely people. The vibe is always very friendly. And I think it's great. You know, networking is important, isn't it? And it's great. In Cornwall, there's so many amazing people doing amazing things, and particularly entrepreneurs, people that just think this could be done better or differently, that are stepping out of the system. Nothing wrong with the system, or maybe there is, but let's not talk about that today. But, you know, that are doing things in new ways. So meeting those and connecting with those is amazing.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And one last thing, and my thanks as always, to Jay, our producer, for producing today's podcast. People will be watching this on the wide shot thinking, where did Dr. Jo get her awesome trousers from? Because they're great.
Yes, aren't they good?
Yes.
They're from Salt Company in Foy, because they are amazing.
Yeah, nice little shout out there to the Salt Company. Fantastic. Right, well, that's it for this podcast. Make sure you connect with Dr. Jo. She's an absolutely amazing person to be around. And get well soon and stay well. That's probably a better message. Stay well. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.